Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Edward Moody. We have some breaking news out of Superior at this hour we want to tell you about. Authorities say an explosion rocked the Husky Refinery plant. Multiple injuries have been reported at this time. Here's a live image from that scene. So what you're seeing right now is that thick black smoke live at the Husky Energy plant. Used to be the Calumet Oil Refinery. But this is the image, folks, that people are seeing across the Northland. You see that black smoke. We are told that that black smoke is coming from now this second fire that has started at the Husky Energy plant there in Superior. That thick black smoke, you can imagine now, can be seen 4 miles. What are you seeing as far as wind conditions? Because from what we understand, this could be asphalt, this could be crude oil burning off. So what can people expect as far as wind conditions for this kind of smoke blowing?
Right, and that's one of those big contributing factors that we're keeping a close eye on, because we have some wind gusts that are starting to show up upwards of 25 miles an hour working into the region. That's going to help to propagate this plume of smoke further into the distance as well. And generally, when you see those dark masses of clouds, there's a lot of particulate matter suspended within it as well.
We have some new information that just came in from our crews live on the scene. They have now been pushed back even further from this fire and these explosions. You can see this is live video of that smoke plume, that very dark smoke over there in Superior at Husky Energy. Our crews have been pushed back, and we learned a little earlier that crews actually working this scene and the fire and the explosions have been pushed back as well. About some evacuations and closures because of this explosion, or the several explosions we're told have happened over at the Husky Energy plant. We now know that the Superior YMCA has been evacuated and will remain closed until further notice. We have also been notified that the Nemadji Golf Course has been evacuated, and we imagine that will remain closed, at least the fairway there, until further notice as we look at this smoke plume. And Anthony Matt was right. It has grown exponentially since we came on air.
It was a clearing scene, and it has just gotten much worse. When I was down there earlier, I could hear a lot of explosions, a lot of subsequent explosions when the smoke first broke out, and I saw some flames shooting into the air. None of the explosions were as bad as the first ones that were described to me. When neighbors and people inside at the time told me that it shook, one of the people inside at the time told me it felt like a semi-truck hit the building. And the people out here told me it felt like an earthquake. It was just shaking everywhere. And they have told me that even I'm about a mile away from where it is now, and they're telling me I need to get even farther away. They told me that they are really evacuating this area. I've been told the evacuation plan is a 1-mile radius around where the plant is and a 10-mile evacuation route to the south, because that is downwind of all of this smoke.
All Superior schools have now been evacuated. All Superior schools have been evacuated because of these explosions. We are told that they are taking students to the AMSOIL facility in Superior. That is not to be confused with AMSOIL Arena in Duluth. They are not taking them there. They're taking them to the AMSOIL facility and company in Superior.
So I'm sitting in my house. I'm at my computer. Suddenly I hear this massive explosion. And now, understand that there's train tracks next to my house. So I'm used to, lots of noise. I'm used to maybe the house rumbling a little bit. But instantly, I knew that this was different because I felt it in my chest. It just resonated through my body. And instantly, I've got the fear, man.
Yeah, Edward, I'm actually quite surprised I did find somebody, because cars have been leaving rapidly. They're actually setting up barricades as we speak, so nobody can get in, nobody can get out. But it's actually quite a ghost town around here. There's hardly anybody outside their houses. I mean, police have been telling residents to basically leave town. If they have to go inside their house to get something and to stay no longer than 5 minutes. And I actually do have a resident with me who actually lives down the street, Matt LaValle. And Matt, you arrived home from work to quite some surprising news. How has it been since you got home?
Pretty unnerving. you know, it's kind of scary. So grab my dogs and get out of here. Get the rest of the family's gone already, so we'll just get the dogs, and hopefully everybody's safe and we can come back tonight.
What's been going through your mind since the moment you arrived home?
Just hope everything's safe, and it's as, you know, all more of an overreaction than what's actually happening. But you know, it's a pretty volatile situation, I guess. It's pretty scary. So.
We wanted to share with you this map that we received from the city of Superior. This is specifically showing what they have outlined as that 3-mile radius around the plant there at the center of what looks like that bullseye. We have some images we want to share with you that have come in from the website unspillable.com. As we scroll through these images, let's just go through them slowly, guys. There's one image right there, as you can see that smoke, and it looks like, gosh, I don't know if that's a flame popping up on the other side of that building, but it looks like flame coming from the other side of that building from the Henry plant. Let's look at some more of these photos we've got in from unspillable.com.
At 10 o'clock this morning, obviously, we had an incident at the refinery. The initial incident caused an asphalt spill, and that's what you see burning right now, and that's why it's so black, because of the asphalt burning right now. At this time, there were no fatalities. Fortunately, we did have, I believe, 6 individuals were transported to the hospital, but again, no fatalities. So that's we're very fortunate there, and we continue to be aggressive on trying to fight this fire whenever we have the possibility to do that. Certainly, we're using atmospheric conditions at our advantage whenever we can.
And then look at this next image. This is not far away from that refinery. This is taken from Superior High School. So we have an idea, folks, now of why they have evacuated Superior schools and bused students over to that AMSOIL facility in Superior. We have a reporter who has been live on the scene all morning. She is now back here in studio with us, CBS 3's Leanne Valdez. Leanne, you were there as really almost all of this has been playing
out. I've been at multiple places. You know, started off at Essentia, St. Mary's, at St. Luke's, trying to see how many people were transported there.
Sure.
And as we heard earlier, only one was transported to St. Luke's and multiple to St. Mary's.
All right, everyone, focus very closely on your screen. What you're seeing right here is security footage from the plant, and I am told that this is the moment that the explosion happened. What you are seeing right here is the explosion, possibly the explosion that happened just after 10 this morning at the Husky Energy plant in Superior. So if we stay on this image for a minute, because I want to talk about what we're seeing here, you can see the massiveness of that fireball, that fire plume and smoke plume coming out of whatever that is, that container that had that asphalt leak. So that's where at this point we are assuming that asphalt leak took place right there, and that is where the explosion happened, and that was caught on security camera at the plant this morning just after 10.
The biggest problem with fighting fires of this magnitude with asphalt or any petroleum product is once you start an offensive operation, which would be with a combination of foam and water, you have to have enough resources to put it completely out. If you put it 95% out, the 5% will then go right back to where it was. So that's what they're doing right now, is they're making the determination for when, if and when they're going to make that.
Douglas County has declared a state of emergency for the county because of this. Also, the Maple School District has been asked to close tomorrow just as a precautionary measure.
In case the wind shifts that way.
In case the wind shifts that way. We learned quite a few other things from this. They're telling people that the places you can still go now in Superior to find safety and shelter, Four Corners, and then in Duluth, you can, that's Four Corners Elementary School. In Duluth, you can go to Miller Hill Mall, the deck, and now we've learned that even the Hermantown Public Safety Building has been opened up for people coming from Superior who need to evacuate.
And for those that haven't evacuated, the Superior Police actually tweeted out that officers are actually still going door to door and making sure all of the people in the surrounding radius do leave the town.
We've also called in some outside agencies, some specialists in industrial firefighting. We're trying to put together a number of personnel that are equipped to handle this. That's going to dictate whether or not we do go offensive, which will drive the timeline.
Right, and we also want to talk about some of those other tanks that we've been seeing. We know that the tanks immediately around where that fire is happening contain asphalt, but we just learned in this news conference that some of the tanks contain hydrogen chloride, which can be in extreme cases deadly if exposed to the public. At the very least, it could cause some respiratory issues, some eye irritations, throat irritations, things like that. At this time, we don't have any information that suggests that any of those hydrogen chloride containers have caught fire.
And we could just see that plume of smoke get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then getting back after the meeting, the traffic was horrific, and they'd already started trying to get people to evacuate. So I fell within that 2 mile. The police came in the afternoon and said, you have to leave. So I did.
Were you able to take much when you were getting out?
Change of clothes. I mean, I don't have any pets or anything like that, so it's just change of clothes, take my slow cooker off, put it in the refrigerator. That was about all I needed to do. Shut down the house.
We have a statement this evening from Husky Energy. They released it earlier this afternoon. It reads, quote, emergency crews are on site and all workers have been accounted for. Husky's first priority is the safety of its people, the community, and emergency responders. There are injuries which are being treated at hospitals and on site. Regulatory authorities have been notified. Local air quality is being monitored. There is no danger to the public or local residents at this time, end quote. That statement coming this afternoon from Husky Energy. The center was notified around noon that all Superior schools would be busing students over to the area for parents to come pick up their children. The center's employees were asked to evacuate, but many stayed behind to help the children and their neighbors seek shelter and find their loved ones.
Basically, the process has been the children get bused here, they get off the bus. We've had big signs where we've separated the kids by the school so that the parents can be notified to come here and then find their student.
For the most part, most of the day, a northerly wind has kept this away from the Duluth side of the Twin Ports, and rather it affected folks in northwestern Wisconsin, which of course isn't a good thing. We would like the smoke to go away. And right now, let's get a look at this picture here coming in from a gentleman that took it over the hill in Thompson Hill. Yeah, it shows the scope of the smoke plume coming up with the fire, and it is lifting about 5,000 feet up into the atmosphere.
Well, Edward, I heard Dave talking about the wind and the change of wind that might be happening in the future. But I do want to mention one thing that has happened since the last time I went live. As you can see, I'm going to have my photographer zoom in. You can see that actually the cloud of smoke has been going to the right now and then still going to the left. But initially it was just going up. So now it's spreading over to the right. So that plays a little bit into that wind factor. Do want to mention it is asphalt that is burning. So they did tell us in the press conference earlier, asphalt gets very hot and it's hard to extinguish.
Fire, but right now the fire is out, and in a few hours we will be able to start rescinding the evacuation. Folks should be able to come home and sleep in their beds tonight.
All right, everyone, sort of a collective sigh of relief across the area as we hear news from Mayor Jim Payne in Superior that the fire at Husky Energy is out. We have been showing you the images all day of that dark plume of smoke going into the air. We want to show you a new image now of that area, and we're not seeing that same smoke. According to the news conference that we just heard, they are still holding the evacuation notice, that mandatory 3-mile radius and 10 miles below the planned evacuation. They're going to hold that in place for the next 2 hours just so they can make sure that this fire does not reignite.